There's people who are nowadays spending 8-9 hours a day in a video conferencing environment. Video conferencing has become part and parcel of the new normal in the corporate environment and in the public administration. Lots of pros, according to the official narrative. It's good for the environment. People no longer have to commute to work. They can theoretically get more work done in less time. They can work from the comfort of their home and even address large international audiences from their office without having to take a plane. So the work-life balance and health probably of teleworkers is supposed to improve. That's the theory. The practice is that many people who are teleworking and doing a lot of teleconferencing are telling a completely different story. Stress. Burnout syndromes are skyrocketing. The notion of Zoom fatigue has emerged, and interestingly, a study published on Nature in October 2023, pretty recently, managed to evidence that there actually is a stress reaction in the nervous system of people who have just been exposed to about 30 to 40 minutes of video conferencing materials. The autonomic system is reacting. A fight or flight reaction can be measured. Zoom fatigue has been explained as the result of people not being able to communicate properly with other human beings. The elements usually and typically found in communication between human beings are not there or not fully. And so people lack the body language. Apparently people are feeling alienated by the fact that they can see their own face on screen and that they might be required to multitask while they're attending the meeting and so on and so forth. So that is usually the explanation for Zoom fatigue, burnout syndromes and so on. To me, that's not plausible. Listening to a radio program means having no eye contact with the anchor. It means not being able to see any body language at all. It means not being able to communicate with the anchor in real time, which can be frustrating if the anchor is saying stuff you do not agree with. And most of the time, people will be multitasking while listening to that radio program. They will be driving their car or even lorry or ironing their shirts. And there is no such thing as the listening to the radio while ironing fatigue. But there is such thing as Zoom fatigue, and it has been shown to exist. The subjects in this experiment, which was conducted by an Austrian team of researchers, were not required to perform any multitasking during the experiment. There was at least some body language, there was visual information, communication was one way because it was a university lecture. There were no other known stressors in the experiment. An interesting study conducted about 20 years ago by Wilson and Sasse found that degraded sound and sound perceived as somehow too loud also unleashes a response, a fight and flight response in the autonomic nervous system. Interestingly, they contrasted that with other sorts of sound degradation that did cause reactions from test subjects, but only on a cognitive level. The video conferencing soundscape, you've heard it from Christian Hugonnet, it's an acoustic nightmare, basically. And the reason why you have so many artificial intelligence algorithms over-processing that signal is that background noise, distracting background noise, has been declared the new public enemy. Intelligibility is engineered by artificial intelligence algorithms by overemphasizing frequency bands your ear is already very sensitive to. It's like punching someone in the nose, basically. By making softer components louder, so the signal is basically never softer than a given amount of decibel. yes, louder is perceived as, or can be perceived as nicer in the short term. Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. That's what AI does. It engineers loudness, but loud was one of the factors that unleashed an autonomic nervous system reaction in Wilson's and Sass's experiment 20 years ago. So there seems to be something in the video conferencing environment and in the way it sounds that our brain perceives as a threat. Why is it perceiving it as a threat, and what's causing it? Where are these algorithms? Well, they're built into the video conferencing platforms. They're built into the devices people usually utilize to connect to video conference meetings. Here. Use that, and you're already beginning to fry the ears of your listeners. But people are usually recommended that they use a better device, right? And I think Christian showed some measurements made on one of these that are actually marketed, saying they will improve sound. So I think caution must be taken. The video conferencing environment is basically a threat to the human nervous system, the way it is currently managed and implemented.
The last word, maybe there is something you want to say to conclude or summarize your statements. Shaylee?
Thank you. And in the end, I would just like to say that while a lot has been said here about the beneficial effects of music, so I'm not going to repeat that, and a lot has also been said about the way sounds impact our ears and hearing. But the fact is that besides the ear and hearing, sounds or loud sounds or bad sounds, as I termed it, as I coined the term, which includes loud and also distorted sound, hyper-compressed sound, it also affects other parts of our body. And I think Andrew put it very well when he said that it activates it's like a stressor. It activates the autonomic nervous system. It creates those, leads to the secretion of those hormones, those chemicals, which trigger a stress response. And WHO has estimated that in Europe alone, over, I think, it leads to a risk even of cardiac disease. And I think the number is about 28,000 in Europe, that people with cardiac diseases attributed to overexposure to sound, loud sounds or bad sounds, and even as many as 12 to 14,000 deaths attributed to that. So it's an issue that needs to be addressed. And I think while there is a very strong element of personal responsibility about how we consume sound and how we produce sound, but there's also a bigger element of societal responsibility